Hi guys, my name is Sean. I'm a houseplant enthusiast from Jakarta, Indonesia. This is part 2 of a 4-part episode. You do not have to watch any of them in any particular order. It's completely random, and there's going to be a lot of cool plants as I tour FLOII Convex. It's an international scale event here in Indonesia that is annual. This is the first time they've actually had it. The last one was, I don't know, somewhere between 60 to 80 years ago. It was a long time ago that they had this event. So it is really a good time to bring it back. It's a very prestigious event. There are some amazing guests that were brought in here and amazing vendors. We discover a lot of cool species, a lot of cool trends coming to the market. So I will quickly share with you what you will expect in this episode. I'm going to read off my laptop because I don't memorize everything. But we're going to start off with some Anthurium hybrids by Eddy pranoto. He does both the bird nest Anthuriums as well as the heart-shaped leaf Anthuriums. He's like the legendary hybridizer, and I do have 2 episodes on Eddy. If you want to learn about how he hybridizes plants and to look at his collection more extensively, please do check out those episodes. You can just type in Eddy pranoto on the YouTube search bar and it should come up. And then we have a lot of carnivorous plants. We discover a lot of really cool new plants, including some syngoniums. There are some insanely rare aroids, including, I'm going to give you a spoiler, a Philodendron joepii variegated. Stick around to the very end because it's some crazy terrariums and some really interesting carnivorous plants that were displayed insanely well. They're just not your common carnivorous plant. Oh, and I forgot to mention that where possible, I will include the price on the screen. So when you check out the name of the plant, there might be a US dollar price on top, just in case you want to know how much these plants cost. But again, not all of these plants are labeled, so a lot of them are not going to have prices on them. But feel free to reach out to some of them. I know that you guys are living abroad in case you wanted to inquire about importing or exporting. And I have a feeling that all of these booths do export. We start the tour at Eddy pranoto's booth, and here he explains the black dorayaki. This is an Anthurium, obviously, and they were explaining that this is actually a mutation where the contrast between the silver and the dark of the leaves are very stark, and it's really beautiful. Look at how interesting the veins look. They look really pronounced compared to the regular dorayaki. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions about any of his hybrids or his collection. He does export. That Instagram is going to be on the screen now. Of course, you can also watch our 2 episodes that we did before. Just type in his name in the YouTube search bar and you should see something. He's actually a master hybridizer of Anthuriums. He's won literally every competition for Anthuriums there is in Indonesia. And he's known to fill in colors of these bird nest type Anthuriums with like orange, pinks, maroons. And there's these like bowl shaped or cobra shaped Anthuriums depending on how you look at them. And there are many variegated varieties. These are actually quite easy to care for in my opinion. But for the younger people, they're usually into these heart-shaped leaf Anthuriums, which he also is starting to hybridize and collect. Look at how beautiful this one variegation is. The new leaf comes out yellow like that and then it turns dark burgundy over time. You really do have to follow him on Instagram to check out the full collection because he has such a numerous amount of plants in his collection, and he's always evolving. He's always creating something new products. So that is very exciting. I'm really proud of Eddy and his work. Look at this one. The variegation is so stunning on this. It's like white and yellow variegated. And moving on, we have the heart-shaped leaf Anthuriums that are trending now in the aroid market. And I really don't like the word trending because trend suggests that it will go out of fashion someday, and I don't like the idea of that. So knowing Eddy, we know that these are probably hybrids or mutations. This is the Papillilaminum crossed with red crystallinum. He has a lot of mother plants, so he's always hybridizing things. This is the Anthurium forgetii spider, and I did see this in his nursery a few months back because the veins look like a spider just mounting onto the leaves. There are so many varieties. Again, do reach out to him if you have any questions or if you want to check out his collection. He does have some really rare Anthuriums, and I believe the pricing is not that crazy. He's actually quite sincere with the pricing, maybe because he is the one that is breeding them and growing them out. Next, we have some Nepenthes, this is the ampullaria. I believe this must be the common variety because I have seen them quite a lot around the booths, or maybe this is just an easier one. Feel free to check out their Instagram, Hobby Nanam, on the screen. He has a lot of Nepenthes and a lot of care tips on carnivorous plants. Now this Nepenthes is really interesting in that they do form clusters that sit on the top of the media, which is really strange to me because normally they would like to hang, they like to dangle a little bit more. And the care tip for this is to give it bright indirect light. If you can see, the leaves are actually slightly sun-stressed, so a little bit of direct sunlight can actually do them good as well if you like that sun-stressed look. And below here we have more Nepenthes. There are so many different varieties and hybrids, but most of them in fact are not in Indonesia, unfortunately. Even though the species originate from Indonesia, they are not as appreciated as they are overseas, and they're not as heavily cultivated. There's also a stigma around growing some Nepenthes here because a lot of them are protected by the government, so people are sometimes scared to show their collection. Here is Clover Roots. This is a booth that is new to me, but they have this amazing, cute Dieffenbachia. Now this is priced at $32 US, which is actually a pretty good price. It is expensive for Indonesian standard, but I believe for you guys living overseas, this is nothing. But look at the beautiful coloration on these. Every leaf is random, but the variegations seem to be quite stable. It's like a tricolor type situation. Although this has very little chlorophyll, so I think it's going to be a slow grower. Now this one here is actually a very common Dieffenbachia. I actually have a video on this, but this is the variegated variety. And I love the gradation of the variegation, and this is $96 in case you want to know. There's the gradation between yellow and cream variegation, and the name of this is the Dieffenbachia amoena variegata. Next, we have these new Syngoniums. I've not seen these in the market before. Now from the top, they look like nothing much, and it's got a terrible name. They named it the Syngonium Mosaic, and it's $256 US because it's still new to the market. But it is not known for beauty on the top of the leaves, but rather the underside. In a minute, I'm going to show you that the underside looks a lot like a caladium leaf. How cool is that? I would love to get my hands on one of these, but again, I'm not paying this much for a Syngonium at this time or ever because their prices tend to come down very quickly. They're such fast growers. And for smaller pots, these are also ready and probably more affordable. This one in my hand is the Syngonium Eclipse. It's only $16. I'm not sure about this form, but these are probably a little bit more common. This one is the Syngonium Green Beauty. $4.80, and I guess that's also a common Syngonium price. I actually do like the more common Syngoniums because they are so easy to grow and they beautify the space without costing anything. This one is a Syngonium Milk Confetti Tricolor. I did not know that they come in a tricolor variety. This one I believe is the Strawberry Milk, and I think I have one of this gifted to me, but I have to really look for it. And then this is a Scindapsus Pink Salmon. I can't remember whose vlog I saw it. It could have been Kaylee Allen. Now, I really have a hard time telling a lot of these Syngoniums apart. Like the pink and the whites and the greens, they all look pretty much similar to me. This is the Syngonium Chiapense variegata. I mentioned this a lot on my channel because they have, while they're rare, they have become easy and accessible and affordable as well. This is the Ragunan Aroid community. This is actually where we filmed in the beginning of my channel. There's a community of nurseries, maybe like, I don't know, 30, 40 nurseries, and they're quite sizable. There's a few of them joining together in one booth. And I really like this concept because, let's be honest, no one's doing well in this economy and in this market condition. So everybody is like pulling together resources to share a booth. Or I don't know, maybe this show is just super expensive to sign up for, and yeah, but it's a good thing that everyone is showing literally the best that they have. This is a Anthurium pendulifolium, and it's so expensive. This is a huge plant, but it's very expensive. They do have some babies, which I will show you later. They are a lot more affordable, but this is a mother plant size, and I'm sure it's already flowered, and probably where these little babies are produced from the seedlings of this one plant. And mature Anthuriums can actually self-pollinate. You can self-pollinate and produce lots of seedlings that have pretty identical genetics. There's this a Philodendron tortum, and it's a huge one with a slightly bent leaf. But they actually look like a palm when they reach this kind of mature size. And as usual, they always put on a show when they're putting out a new leaf. And this is the thing that I really love about tortums. This is a large Monstera type constellation. I really appreciate them because they grow so slowly. This is Ija Farm on Instagram. They have a lot of carnivorous plants. I'm really happy to see a lot of carnivorous plant people coming into the market. This is a Sarracenia. This is a genus that completely eludes me. I've only discovered them pretty recently when someone gave me one in a plant swap. Apparently they love full sun. Look at how beautiful and transparent the leaves are. Or I don't know if these are leaves or something else, but they are carnivorous. So maybe there's some kind of a pitcher setting to capture insects. But again, they do need the full sun and they will grow really well in full sun and never let them dry out ever. This is another one. This is a smaller variety. It looks like it's in flower if you look closely in the center of that plant. And sometimes if you don't have them out in full sun, you can also supplement them with really, really good grow lights. Down here, we have some Venus flytraps, also another genus that I'm completely new to. There's probably a lot of species and hybrid as well. I don't know how you can get them to hybridize. They're so tiny. Look at that. How do you even cross-pollinate them? How is that possible? And I know the pinguiculas, which is sitting right at the back, is often hybridized and they do flower, but the flowers actually do look like normal flowers. And I know that you can probably easily hybridize them. So do comment down below if you know how these Venus flytraps are actually hybridized. They look really nice with this 80s disco light setting on them. This is the Cercestis mirabilis. I love the light bouncing off of them. They look so nice. It's glossy new leaf. This is actually not an easy plant to care for. I don't recommend it for beginners. They are kind of like an alocasia, maybe a little bit like a caladium as well. And the care is probably somewhere in between. Here is a ruby banana, a Siam ruby banana, and a variegated ZZ plant, very slow growing. And if you think that ZZ plants are slow growing, these guys are even slower. They do respond well to light. You need to give them good light to maintain their variegation. And here we have some more Nepenthes, really, really beautifully decked out here. I really love how they styled this booth. It got people interested, got people curious. It looks like the sinister villain slayer, if you know what I mean. And these leaves, they're showing a little bit of sun stress, which I actually really love in them. And I see that also sometimes in Hoyas, but they look particularly good on Nepenthes. This is Drosera. Yeah, there are also many varieties of them. Look at the flowers. These are the tiny, tiny little flowers. Imagine people going around hybridizing these tiny flowers. I really can't. But again, I really love how this looks like an evil lair of a villain. And it's just so sinister looking. And I really hope that a lot of kids will get into houseplants because they are interested in these carnivorous plants and how they are adapted to the way they are now and how they will adapt to our living spaces. Really would love to get into them someday, but I'm currently too overwhelmed with my own plant collection. This is Taman Tangkal. They're actually the #1 booth. They were voted the best booth award. There's a lot of bamboo feature. I don't even know how they assembled this here, but then they seem to be interested in variegated plants, particularly yellow variegated plants. There's a huge Monstera type constellation here, some Philodendron biliatai up there along the driftwood. It's actually quite beautifully designed. This is a beautiful Anthurium veraquenum. And there's some Tomatophyllum here. This is the Sonora, which is the work of Mr. Greg Hambali. He's a senior hybridizer here in Indonesia. They look really good in landscaping, actually. They look like fireworks. And down here, there's a variegated peace lily. Could be the Mauna Loana or Mauna Loa variety. I'm not very familiar with the Spathiphyllums, but this one seems to be reverting a bit. Spathiphyllums are actually very good light meters. If you're not sure whether your area has high light or not, just get a variegated peace lily. If the new growth come in green, that means your area is way too low light to support a variegated plant. But this has really nice minty variegation, to be honest. And I can't get up close to the plants behind because there are people in the way, but this is a beautiful Philodendron Caramel marble. There's some, I think, Pink Princess Galaxy. I think that's a homolumina that's black, but then the variegation is like this amazing flamingo color. There's a Monstera burle marx flame, one of the larger ones that I've seen in Indonesia. They are actually very, very expensive. They're quite new to the market. So it's really rare to find ones at that size. And this is one of the rarest plant sellers probably in Indonesia other than Indo-Aroid, which is by Pak Chandra. This one is a Monstera white mint. Now, they are completely covered in mint. This is different from the Monstera mint, which is going to be like your regular variegated Monstera with the minty type variegation on it, such as this one here. So when you look at it up close, you'll see that it's got like this mint appearance, but basically the white mint is a mutation from this regular Monstera mint, where the vine came up from a completely mint portion of the stem. So yeah, this is quite a random and rare occurrence, and you can imagine that they're very, very slow growers, but it's so beautiful. This is a philodendron that I'm not sure of. I'm not sure the name of this one, but the variegation is incredibly beautiful. It might be a Prince of Orange or something. It's got a lot of orange, yellow, and white variegation, and this blew my mind. This is a Martianum, or a philodendron fat boy, variegated. Look at the stem, even the stem and the petiole is variegated. And they're really known for their chubby petioles. So this is a nice feature to have. This is definitely going to be on my wish list, although because I've never really seen this plant before, I'm assuming that it is probably very expensive and probably a very long wait before I can get my hands on one of them. This is a smaller Monstera burle marx flame. This is probably the size that most people will buy them in. And this is a Philodendron joepii variegated. You guys, this is crazy. Someone joked that this was a bulletproof glass, but I almost believe them. And they should put this in a bulletproof glass. This is insane. Each of these leaves are priced at $13,000 US, and I mean one leaf. Next, we have this beautiful Monstera. I think I was explained that it was the Brazilian form variegated. I did look it up, and I guess the Brazilian form is a different form of Monstera. It's not the Deliciosa, not the Borzigiana. I could be wrong, but feel free to reach out to them if you have any questions about some of these rare plants. Again, they are some of the rarer suppliers here in Indonesia. This is Legacy Landscape. They come from Malang, which is a long way from here. And they are joined with Wind Florist, which is a booth from Ragunan. This is an Anthurium forgetii. Apparently, these were grown from seedlings. They grew it themselves. Look at how beautiful, dark, velvety the leaves are. Now, when you buy the Anthurium forgetii, there's many forms. There's also many different finish on the leaves, but this particular one is very, very sexy. And behind there, I don't know what species this is. They said it's a Legacy, but I don't know. But it's already flowering, which is going to suggest that this is as big as the leaves can get, because usually Anthuriums only flower when they reach a certain maturity. I see a variegated Anthurium viterifolium and some cute little baby bird nest type Anthuriums. And back here, this is a Rhaphidophora. I was told it's a decursiva, but it could actually be the Rhaphidophora tenuis. And then back here, we have the Anthurium chamberlaini. Beautiful. It looks like a body shield. And then there are more Anthuriums that are in flower. This is actually variegated if you look up close at the leaves. And these are potential mother plants, because if you do pollinate variegated Anthuriums, there's a likelihood that the baby would be variegated. But the chance of that is literally like 5 in 1,000. It's actually very difficult to have a variegated Anthurium. But of course, if you have two parentage that are both green without any variegation, you have almost no chance of getting a variegated seedling. But that is actually not entirely impossible. Here is an interesting Rhaphidophora. It's the first time I've seen it. It's actually a baby, and look at how cute it is as a baby. They do grow to be a slightly larger size, but look at the gradation on the variegation. That is amazing. And these are some more that are growing down below. This is an Anthurium pterodactyl variegated. This is actually pretty huge leaves, and they actually look really, really nice. And sitting back there all by itself is a Philodendron ailsemanii variegated. This is actually pretty new to the market as well, and this is probably very, very expensive. They look a bit like the Jose Bono, but it does have a more updated look. This is a Hoya booth, and they have some Dischidias hanging up front. These are all imbricata, I think hybrids, because apparently a lot of these that are grown successfully commercially are not pure hybrids. This is a Hoya cipitagensis, new to me as well, but they do sun stress quite beautifully. And the girls are actually laughing in the back, and I overheard them saying that apparently I was actually a customer here before. Look at these cute little bulates on the dishki. They're not technically called bulates, but I think someone needs to comment down below to let me know what these are. So that's leafing around. That's Irene. She's hanging out in this booth. She's also here for the event. So we're both like running around, like meeting different people and interacting with the plants. And next up, we have some cute syngoniums. I think syngoniums are starting to grow on me. This is the Pink Perfection, and I guess it's rightfully named so. And then there's just quite an interesting, they look like Anthurium flowers actually, if you ask me. So I was later told by one of the sellers, the Tanduran, that I actually used to buy plants from them. And I didn't even remember that. That was actually 2 to 3 years ago. It's amazing that they remembered me or remembered my name. But yeah, this is their Instagram if you want to look them up, or their store name also on Tokopedia in an Indonesian marketplace. They're actually a very, very good seller. And as you can see, the plants look really, really nice and healthy over here. Now back there's a variegated Monstera mint. And apparently they were explaining that they were sold already as single leaf cuttings. So nobody could actually afford to buy the whole plant as it is. It's still very, very expensive here. So people just like bought per node. And then each one will have their names on it and they will be tagged. They will pay for them upfront. And then obviously when they are rooted, they will be shipped to these people. This is an interesting way to shop, especially for rare plants. I actually joked to them that they should give me the top cutting. Yeah, but this is a very nicely variegated mint, because if you look at each leaf, they're all wonderfully variegated, and the variegation looked to be quite stable on this one. And back there are some Strawberry Shake, Florida Beauty, some of the quote-unquote common rare aroids. The Philodendron bipennifolium variegated is actually really, really beautiful. I hope to get my hands on one of them. I have the Aureum variety, and that's all yellow with the new leaves, but then they turn to complete green over time. Now there is a really loud vehicle going on right now near where I'm recording. So if you can't hear that vehicle, it means that I'm using a really, really good microphone and that my investment has paid off. But these are some koias, and I love that they have the flower pictures next to the hoyas. It's really, really helpful when they do that. And behind here, this is a Hoya undulata. It's one that always catches my eye. There's so many different forms of them, but they look really, really interesting and curious looking. Now there is a really, really beautiful platycerium. It's called Fong Xiqi. I don't know how they named this platycerium, but it's got a very curious curly fronds. And these are actually very stable because I've seen a few of them around the show. A lot of people have smaller specimens, but apparently that one won the best award. So this is a KPPTHC, which is a group of young people from Chiapas region. We've actually visited some of their nurseries before. They formed a community, and primarily they grow platyceriums, anthuriums, a lot of local endemic plants, but they're all pretty rare plants. And this is the Anthurium red gunsal. Not much is known about them. I was unable to find a lot of information, but I bet they are probably hybridized in the area. This is an Aglaonema pictum tricolor variegated. I always thought that the tricolor is already variegated, but apparently they do this. So these kids, they form a community of super rare plants. They are always exchanging plants, always sharing mother plants. So there's a lot of interesting hybrids coming out from the community. This one here is the Anthurium Hau, which is the king of spades, acts with luxuriance. And this is a really, really amazing hybrid, I can tell, because the king of spades is actually quite beautiful by itself. So there's actually many of them. If you look at each tag, there's many, many, many hybrids. And coming to these shows is the best way to appreciate them, because these people, they bring out the best of the best from each hybrid to show in this show. And then this is also where you can be assured that you will bring home a plant that is selected by the breeder themselves. Next, these are amazing terrariums. Look at this. This is the silver dragon, bambino. They're all these little cute alocasias. I'm not sure how alocasias do in terrariums. Do comment down below if you have any experience with that. But I really love this old style glass, and they look so delicate and expensive. They really elevate the plants and maybe even simplify the plant care. But again, I'm not familiar with terrariums. There are a lot of Nepenthes here. These ones, look at the little picture Oh my god, I think this is one of the larger ones that I've seen, and they have this really cute hat on top of it. Apparently the hat is to prevent water or rainwater to come into the pitcher, but you do need to fill the pitcher with a little bit of water because you don't want it to be completely dry. They do need that bit of water to be dissolving their prey. Look at these sexy lips that they have. Don't you want to make out with them? And they're wonderfully sun stressed, so they do like it very, very bright. I don't think these are low light plants. I have kept mine in a low light for a while and it's stunted a little bit. Look at this beautiful picture. The leaf to pitcher ratio is so big on these, and they do sprout pitchers from the edge of the leaves. You could say that they are probably modified leaves. And there are actually many shapes and forms of them, not just with color, but also with like the leaf structure and also the pitcher structure. We'll see some more later. This is the Ampullaria. Again, this is probably the more attainable Nepenthes. I really would love to get my hands on one of these, and I love that they put out lots of pitchers, but then they're all pretty small size. This Sarracenia in this contraption here, this is amazing. So I think this is a hybrid that I have actually received. It's called the Dana's Delight, but I could be wrong. But they actually love this kind of full sun. I don't know how they will do in this like low airflow type terrarium. So do comment down below if you think that they will be happy or if you think that they're actually suffering. But they look really wonderful in this setup. And there's some other really nice terrariums with really good light setup, because for a lot of terrariums sometimes I find that it's a little bit too dark. So for these setups, I would say that they are probably getting direct sunlight or probably even full sun from these really strong light bulbs. There's some begonias here, the Cleopatra. There's a plant called Sirih Papua. I failed to figure out the English name. Beautiful, beautiful palm over there. And this one is a Saxifraga stolonifera. They do put out babies. It's also known as the strawberry begonia, but it is neither a strawberry nor a begonia. Look at these cute Nepenthes. They're all over the place and they look really, really nice when you style them with other plants nearby. They are a conversation piece. This is another Sarracenia. This is another variety that is looking really nice, and the substrate is probably moss from what I can see. They really do thrive in live moss from what the sellers are saying, but I have no experience with these. I would really love to get my hands on it and try, but I know I will kill it if I do try, because this is the thing with carnivorous plants. You do need to give them special care. You do need to research them and you need to spend a lot of time on them, but they are very, very worth it. This is interesting. I thought this is a Nepenthes, but this could actually be a Sarracenia. But it's just straight up to pitcher. They don't have any kind of foreplay, just straight into pitcher, which is really, really interesting. And I'm guessing from these contraptions that they do like humidity. These are ones that are more taller. They're not in the terrarium, but we can get up close and look at how beautifully they illuminate the leaves. I don't know how these actually look to insects, but this one pot comes with 3 Docera. So if you buy this, you'll get some free plants with you. And then there are actually many varieties of these Sarracenia. Those are a little bit stubbier, a bit shorter, but some of them have more like green and common looking leaves, but some of them have more impressive looking leaves. I'm assuming that the ones that are brightly lit, brightly colored, they will require a lot more full sun than the green counterparts. But I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong. They really look like they're something from an alien world. And this one is actually flowering a bit. If you look at the flower, it is kind of like curling out. How cute is that? This is actually a sundew, if I'm not wrong. And then back here, this is a perfectly shaped terrarium for a perfectly shaped Nepenthes. It looked like it fits like a glove, which is amazing. And I love everything about this. I love the substrate. It's a very good presentation. And I love the plant that's in it. It looks really like a theme park flat ride, if you know what I mean. And back there, there's a upcycled contraption here. I think this used to be some kind of a, I don't know, some kind of a mechanism for a factory, but then they've repurposed it so that plants can live here in a terrarium setting. And then these are some of the contact information, because there are a few vendors in this booth, so feel free to reach out if you have any questions about carnivorous plants, how to care for them, or if you can source them here in Indonesia. I would imagine that some of the Nepenthes would be a challenge to ship because they would require CITES, which is like a very strict kind of phytosanitary. And this booth is just packed. I really love watching people interact with these plants, asking questions, and there are a lot of kids around. And this is how you get kids interested in houseplants. And look at them, they're looking into slow release fertilizer, probably to feed some of these nepenthes. There's many varieties here, and this one, this is crazy. I don't know the name of the species, but it's got really gorgeous, sexy lips. It looks like someone did a highlighter over lipstick. Doesn't that look delicious? It looks like candy. And that picture, it comes from the same plant, but it's much smaller. So I'm wondering if it will expand in size to become that at some point, because you can see that the lips are also striped. And please correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think these are called lips. Do comment down below if you know what they are called. And here are some Drosera, and they look like fireworks. These are mostly from the southern part of North America, but I was explained that some of them do come from Australia, which is really interesting and new to me. There are so many species, but they are not easy to care for. Again, a lot of them require full sun, which a lot of us cannot provide, and they require a certain type of water, which is like RO water, which is reverse osmosis, rainwater, or just like really distilled water. And nepenthes can actually take some tap water, so they're a little bit more forgiving, and they are a little bit more shade loving. But if you give them a bit of direct sunlight, some species can sun stress really beautifully. But with the North American carnivorous plants, sorry, I'm lost for words, they do require a dormancy period, especially for them to bloom and to produce seedlings and to live a meaningful life. They have to be maybe placed in a refrigerator for a few months out of the year, and to give them that time to take a break. So look at this one. It's actually flowering in the middle of the rosette. But these are the ones that are from Australia, if I'm not wrong. Again, I'm not familiar with the species, but I'm really happy to see all these collectors starting to come out, because in the last 2 to 3 years, all we have seen are aroids. So I'm really impressed with this show in general. Next up here, we have some pinguiculas. I think a lot of them come from Mexico. I don't know. I've read a lot about plants, and I read about them a long time ago, so I might be wrong. But they're actually very efficient at catching fungus gnats. So if you have that kind of infestation going on, feel free to get yourself some pinguiculas. And then this one has a picture already, even though it has no leaves. All right, thank you so much for coming with me on this one. And there's actually 2 more episodes to go. They're all very interesting. They're about 30 minutes long each. And I guess I'm gonna bid you farewell, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.